The closer the major crises of climate catastrophe and the collapse of biodiversity come, the more urgent the big questions about the future of humanity become. What do we need to pay attention to? What are the truly urgent issues of our time? Where are the opportunities for a more humane economy? Will there be work for everyone in the future? Or do we have to work at all? We will address these questions and much more at the last conference of the Larnaca-Conferences and end the series of keynotes with a brilliant speech by Mohan Murti. Mohan Murti is Managing Director in Europe of Reliance Industries Limited, which is a Fortune Global 100 company. He has over 40 years experience in promoting global business strategy, developing long-term relationships with vendors, and creating mutually beneficial partnerships between European and Indian governments and corporations. Mr. Murti has a bachelor's degree in law and science and a master's diploma in industrial relations and personal management. He is a fellow of the French Government Agency for Commercial, Technical and Industrial Cooperation in Paris, France. He also serves in the Executive Committee of the United Nations. Mohan Murti writes on topical issues in leading newspapers and is an op-ed columnist for a leading business newspaper. He's also author of the book, Walking the Indian Labyrinth, Pilgrimage in Eternity.
Well, I'd like to start as I wanted to with a quotation by David Attenborough. And I quote here, he says, "We have come as far as we have because we are the cleverest creatures to have ever lived on Earth. But if we are to continue to exist, we will require more than intelligence to survive. We will require wisdom to survive." The future of mankind is a very, very interesting topic. And I appreciate your putting this in your one of your agendas.
Yes.
And I grabbed the topic because this is something which also makes me think of, and I have been doing that for the last few weeks. Our beliefs, assumptions on the subject will shape the decisions in both our personal lives as well as in public policy. The decisions that have to be made are sometimes very real and have unfortunate consequences. But there is also a wide, the topic itself is so wide and so diverse that it's difficult to address it in the given time. However, I will try to, as you requested, I'll try to put some important fundamental features of the human condition.
Yes, thank you.
That may change or remain constant in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
What are the basic, fundamental, and important conditions that we have? Some of the features that qualify as fundamental are whether and when the Earth originating life will go extinct, whether we will colonize other galaxies, our galaxy first and then other galaxies, whether human biology will be fundamentally transformed to make us superhumans, and whether machine intelligence, which we are talking so much today, will surpass biological intelligence, whether population size will explode, and whether the quality of life will radically improve or will it deteriorate. These are some of the important fundamental questions. Now, coming to brass tacks. Very often, any discussion on the future has served as a projection screen for our hopes and fears.
Yeah.
Or as a stage for dramatic entertainment I'm prepared for both. Well, so here goes my, I'd like to express some of the realistic, futuristic thoughts of mankind that I have.
Mm.
The areas of immediate concern are climate change, of course, which you mentioned, national and international security,
Yes.
economic development, of course, in countries like India, third world countries, which need development, which we need to uplift our people.
Mhm.
Nuclear waste disposal, Germany is struggling with it.
Yeah.
Biodiversity, natural resources conservation, population policy, scientific and technological research. Our world leaders are already deeply engrossed in these issues. Whether they're doing right or wrong, I will not judge, but there is a lot of engagement. Let me now turn to the direction on which the human race itself is racing towards.
Mhm.
And I'd like to touch here on technology. Most differences of our lives from the age-old hunter-gatherer forebearers are ultimately tied to technology. Evidently, technological innovation is the main driver of the long-term economic growth.
Yes.
We can see for humanity. We have seen that over the last several centuries, and the compound effect of even a modest average annual technological growth can have a profound impact on humanity, which we are seeing every day. And that seems to be the key determinant of the ground rules within which the games of human civilization get played. Let me briefly take you back to the origin of the universe and the human species. We have to put this in a big perspective, the big picture, and then come down to the basics. We all know that the human species has existed for a mere 200,000 years or so. And this is far from enough in terms of time to have experienced all possible conditions, permutations, combinations of which a system of humans and their environment is capable of. Most fundamentally, and as given by scientific evidence, the universe itself has existed only for a finite amount of time, according to scientific evidence. The universe started, as we say, with a Big Bang, an estimated 13.7 billion years ago. In the eventful first 3 seconds, I believe, a number of transitions occurred in the universe, including probably a period of inflation, reheating, symmetry breaking, etc., etc. These were followed by nucleosynthetic expansion, cooling and formation of galaxies, stars, planets, including the Earth. And the Earth was formed circa 4.5 billion years ago. The oldest undisputed fossils are about 3.5 billion years old. And there is some complex evidence that multicellular creatures, organisms, developed about 3.7 billion years ago. From the beginning of the Cambrian period, which is about 542 million years ago, important developments began happening at a faster pace, but still enormously slowly by human standards. Homo habilis, our first human-like ancestors, evolved some 2 million years ago. And Homo sapiens, to the species we belong to, is only about 100,000 years old. The agricultural revolution began in the fertile crescent of the Middle East 10,000 years ago, and the rest is, of course, history. the size of the human population, which was about 5 million when we were living as hunters and gatherers 10,000 years ago, had grown to about 200 million by the first AD, the first century. It reached 1 billion in 1835. And today we have 7.9 billion human beings breathing on this planet. From the time of the Industrial Revolution, prospective individuals living in developed countries have noticed significant technological changes, and Germany is no exception. We have seen that after the war, the way you developed. All the hype aside, it is striking how recent many of these events are, which I defined earlier, in terms of the modern human condition. If you compress the time scale such that the Earth was formed just a year ago, then Homo sapiens evolved less than 12 minutes ago. Agriculture began a little over 1 minute ago. Industrial revolution took place less than 2 seconds ago. And the electronic computer that we use was invented 0.4 seconds ago. The internet, 0.1 seconds ago, in a flash of a lightning or in the blink of an eye. Almost all the volume of the universe is ultra vacuum, as we know today. And almost all the tiny specks in this vacuum is so hot or so cold, so dense, so dilute, to be utterly inhospitable for organic life. So spatially as well as temporally, the situation of the human race as a whole is very precarious. This we need to understand. That's why I wanted to give that big picture. Given the incomplete but substantial knowledge of human history in its place in the universe, how should we structure our expectations of the things to come? I shall briefly outline for you some scenarios for humanity's future. More as challenges. So the first challenge I'd like to talk about is the challenge of extinction. Unless the human species lasts literally forever, it will sometime soon cease to exist. In that case, the long-term future of humanity is easy to describe. Extinction. In fact, it is estimated that 99.9% of all the species that ever existed on Earth are already extinct. I live in Germany for over 2 decades now, and one of my favorite places to visit with my wife is to visit the Neanderthal Museum near Dusseldorf. I don't know if you have been there, but it's a wonderful museum, and I've been there more than once, at least a dozen times. In the ability to make projections for the human race or humanity's future, based on what you have seen or I have seen in the Neanderthal Museum, is amazing. Because this human species called Neanderthal had a relatively short lifetime of a few 100,000 years, not more. And they are now kept in the museum. Will it happen to Homo sapiens? This is what I'm trying to explore. I'm talking about the grand future, not immediate future. So there are 2 different ways in which the human species or Homo sapiens can become extinct. One is by evolving or developing or transforming into one or more of a new species. because of technology, etc., we might even evolve.
Yes, because we are the first species we know of who can change their own evolution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other possible but not really probable is, the natural calamities that we have. We have somehow taken control of that. Somehow we are surviving these. We have seen volcano eruptions, meteoric impacts,
Yes.
other natural hazards for tens of thousands of years. So it seems unlikely that any of these old risks should exterminate us in the near future. In my view, the greatest extinction risk and existential risk that humanity faces is in the restless quest of human beings to introduce novel, phenomena into the world, like nuclear weapons, nuclear weapons, of course, and then to design, as some countries are accused of developing pathogens.
Yes, bioweapons.
Create biowarfare, etc. So in my view, the most severe existential risk of this century derived from expected technological developments. Advances in biotechnology might make it possible to design new viruses. Molecular nanotechnology might make it possible to create weapon systems with a destructive power dwarfing, thermonuclear bombs, biowarfare, etc.
May I ask? I found this interesting. So the first extinction level event coming from mankind, you do not see in climate catastrophe, but in modern technology running into warfare, in bioweapons, etc., which can be a part of trying to deal with climate catastrophe, right? That in the context of the conflicts rising with climate change, with migration, etc., new conflicts will come, and then then mankind might erase itself through nuclear or bioweapons, etc. Is that the point you are making here?
So my point is that more than climate change, human technologies that we are creating, both destructive and constructive technologies, will take us to our disaster.
Interesting.
Because I believe that nature has its way of dealing with, whatever foul play we do with nature. But the worst thing is when human beings themselves, do harakiri of self-destruction. By creating such weapons.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
There is more greenhouse gases, or there has been more greenhouse gases created in the Earth's atmosphere through dropping of bombs than through any other industrial pollution or even any other pollution. So I think this is something which is going to be the apocalypse of the human race, unless we stop it. I'd like to mention about the super intelligent machines, that we are building. Their actions would determine the future of humanity. Considering that many of the existential risks that we seem to be among the most significant I see is still to be discovered, but more or less what I have mentioned is what I think is happening. Well, obviously, I don't want to sound very negative and pessimistic, but obviously the technologies that we are developing, and we have developed and are developing, will help us mitigate some of these risks.
Yes.
As an antidote. Biotechnology, for instance, can help us, develop better diagnostic vaccines, antiviral drugs. Molecular nanotechnology could offer, while I mentioned the negative side, it could offer even stronger powers to prevent and cure diseases. Super intelligent machines may be the last invention human beings ever need to make. When I say super intelligence, what I mean is where they are far more intelligent than the human brain.
Yes.
That is yet to come, but it will come.
You talk about singularity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the specific areas, and in one small word or big word, it's technology that's going to,
Yes.
decide our future, and technology and how we use the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Let me now turn to the next challenge mankind faces, and this is your favorite topic, which is environment and sustainability challenge.
Yeah.
Environmental threats seem to have displaced nuclear holocaust as the chief specter haunting the human imagination.
Yeah.
Current day pessimists.
Yes, I still remember the 80s where nuclear weapons were our topic.
Yeah.
Now it is climate change and collapse of biodiversity. Yes.
So current day, if I can call them pessimists, have a problem with the environmental challenges that we face. The wasteful and the polluting waste and the unsustainable and potentially ruinous ways that we adopt as human civilization.
Mm.
In the recent years, the spotlight of environment, as we all know, has shifted to global climate change, carbon dioxide emissions, and other greenhouse gases accumulating in the atmosphere, where they're expected to cause a warming of the Earth's climate. We all know that it's an old story. Yet another is the rising sea levels, where I'm told hundreds of cities along the coastline across the world will be submerged.
Yes. Most cities in the world are in around about 70 to 100 kilometers near to the sea lines everywhere on this planet. So this is a grave danger.
Absolutely. So now, many past such events have led to societal collapse.
Yeah.
And the human involvement and dealing with these problems ineffectively has led to a kind of a collapse of the society itself, local society itself.
Yeah.
Where societies have to move away from some
Yeah.
So it is a disruption factor.
Yeah.
I'd like to come back to the mind-blowing changes that we're making in technology, and then touch on the environment part again.
Mm-hmm.
What we do know is that in the past 6 generations, more rapid changes of the human species has happened or has been experienced than has been experienced in the last 10,000 years of recorded history. If the world continues to grow at the same pace as in the last half century, then by 2050 or so, the world will have 7 times richer people than it has today. The world population is predicted to increase to just over 9 billion in 2050.
Yeah.
So the average wealth also will increase dramatically. Extrapolating that further to the year 2100, the world would be about 50 times richer than today. A single modest size country might have as much wealth as the entire world has today. Over the course of human history, the doubling of time of the world economy has been drastically reduced on several occasions.
Yeah.
Such as, we've seen that in the agricultural transition, the industrial revolution, etc. Should another such transition occur in this century, the world economy might bounce to several orders of magnitude larger by the end of the century.
Yeah.
So I foresee various specific technological advances will then empower humans with new abilities. Virtual reality environments will constitute an expanding fraction of our experience. The capability of recording surveillance, biometrics, and data mining will grow, making it increasingly feasible to keep track of where people go, who do they meet, what do they do, what goes on inside their bodies and minds. In fact, it's scary. In fact, we could have intensive global surveillance system that would put in place kind of a manipulation system of the human being.
Yeah.
And then make them do predetermined program them to do predetermined tasks or lead a predetermined life.
Yeah.
Which is scary again.
Yeah.
Among the most potential developments that could have direct impact is the lifespan of humans itself. If I can call it the biochemical process of human sense essence. We see that in the autumn when the trees show their sense essence of changing colors. Similarly, if human beings can get rid of that process and the lifespan of humans itself is prolonged, it can happen. We'll have people living for 150, 200 years, even people we don't want.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous thing, but it can also be good for humanity.
Yeah.
But then we are looking at a population explosion. The ancient, but shall I say, the most futile quest for happiness could meet with success if scientists, develop safe and effective methods of controlling the brain circuitry responsible for subjective well-being or feeling of well-being. Drugs and other neurotechnologies could make it increasingly feasible for users to shape themselves into the kind of people they want to be, adjusting their personality, emotional character, mental energy, romantic attachments, and moral character, etc. Cognitive enhancements might deepen our intellectual lives. Nanotechnology, I mentioned it, but I'm mentioning it again, will have a wide-ranging consequence for manufacturing, medicine, computing, machine intelligence. This is another potential revolutionary technology. Eventually, we might be able to have, this is again thinking far ahead, but you never know. 20 years ago, what we never imagined has come true today in terms of, a smartphone or whatever it is. But eventually, we might be able to have baby factories where, fertilized embryo is nurtured and developed in external rented incubator factories. While the mother,
that's a frightening thought.
while the mothers to be are busy working in offices. Perhaps even the gestation period of 9 months would be reduced to 3 months in these factories.
I would love the idea more that mothers do not have to work in offices because they are the robots and artificial intelligence do the work.
So I wonder whether these technological interventions shall I say, interventions or their knockoff effects on society, culture, politics would not themselves alter the human condition sufficiently in fundamental ways that the resulting condition would qualify us, human beings, in the future to become superhumans. Perhaps this general condition for intelligent Earth originating life will not remain a human condition for indefinite period. This is for sure.
Yeah.
Now, what precisely do I mean by superhuman? Or shall we say the superhuman era, which is coming? Within 30 years, we will have the technological means to create superhuman intelligence. 30 or less years. The several possible avenues to superintelligence include artificial intelligence in individual machines or computer networks, and to be able to upload, in simple words, to transfer a human mind into a computer. If a successful mission is done on this, the procedure would be a kind of a qualitative reproduction of the original mind with memory and personality intact onto a computer, where it would now exist as a software. It is possible with technology.
It is. I think it's thinkable. The possibilities for now are small. Yeah.
We said that. We said that about several technologies we are using today.
Yes, of course,
20
I
years
understand.
ago. We never imagined.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Movies on demand, entertainment on demand.
Yeah.
A smartphone where you can have a torchlight.
Yeah.
You don't need anything. You just need a smartphone today. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
So I think it is possible. It might happen. And in short, what I mean is we may be able to upload our consciousness itself into a computer. And, the computer or the mind could inhabit a robot living in virtual reality. So you will be there physically, but then your mind and your consciousness is elsewhere. It could happen in the distant future. And
I often thought about what will beer taste like in artificial realities.
That's a good one. No, I have several times thought about this. What do we do with?
Yeah. And I think what the audience would like to know and hear from you, especially while you come from oil and gas industry, how industry can help solving the current problems. You gave us a broad perspective here with a lot to think about, which is beautiful. Yeah, which is beautiful because this is a constructive idea to say, okay, we have technology, and technology always was the main driving cause for human evolution in the past. So this is the same today, right? And the same today is at the same time, technology is our gravest danger to ourselves. Yeah, but people on this planet now are frightened because they see there's waste everywhere. Almost next to nothing is changing in a seeable way. And when we go when we proceed, great parts of the planet will be inhabitable for human beings. So what is the industry doing from your perspective? Is there hope?
Well, many countries and many corporates are under tremendous pressure to make it make their activities carbon neutral. You cannot go to zero emissions, but you can only neutralize what you are already polluting by doing something else.
Mhm.
So carbon neutral is one of the things that companies are going into, and finding solutions in terms of how to reduce, their or contribute their might to, reducing the greenhouse gases. My own company, which started in textiles, did backward integration to petrochemicals, oil, gas, and the 20 years ago, when I look at Reliance, our main business, 95% of our turnover came from oil and gas and petrochemicals. Today, that has changed.
Mhm.
My company is now kind of getting away from the old economy business of oil and gas and moving to the new economy areas like retailing, telecom, which
Yeah.
I mentioned to you. We are the largest telecom provider in India with over 600 million subscribers. And we are the cheapest in the world in terms of telecom.
Mhm.
Nobody can beat us in that. Our next second best competitor is only Vodafone.
Huh.
They're not number one in India. We are number one in India.
Yeah.
Similarly, we have got into retail business, both e-commerce as well as retailing. And we have tens of thousands of retail outlets across India.
Mhm.
In almost every aspect of the material life, whatever is required is with us in our retail shops. Our second best competitor in retailing is Amazon. So they're not number one in India.
Mhm.
We are number one.
Mhm.
Now, we're moving into life sciences. We're moving to other newer areas of business. We are now getting into alternate energy, including solar. In fact, just last week we invested
Yeah.
in a German company,
Ha.
medium-sized German company, Mittelstand,
Yeah.
which manufactures solar panels, but a very advanced technology panels. And so we have bought over this company, huge stake in this company. And because our company is in India is going to now promote solar energy.
So what you are suggesting here is, and what you are doing is you're becoming agile. You go with the flow. You see, okay, oil and gas is not the future any longer. Yeah. So we change. We switch to other profitable ideas, which are also helpful to mankind. Correct?
Correct. Yes. So we have shifted, as I said, from the old economy business to the new economy business.
Yeah.
And, we are now getting into hydrogen as a means for energy.
Yeah.
We are going into battery technology, power storage technologies, because India is going to explode in terms of e-cars and mobility. We will need a lot of. We have to stop the pollution, going into battery operated vehicles. So we're getting into that area now. So as a company, and my company is just one example, but there are several other companies in India who are doing the same.
Yeah.
So, and across the world, I'm living in Germany, I see that here also. Companies are getting conscious.
Slowly. German is a little bit a dinosaur when it comes to innovation. Yes.
So we are aware of the problem. We are also doing something about it as industry.
Yeah.
And as a company as well as industry. I think I speak here representing one of the largest or the largest company of India, and amongst the top 100 companies of the world.
Yes.
But I see that awareness is there, responsible behavior is there, and that is happening. But let me turn to the other side, and now again taking you back to the big picture, is how green is really green. In fact, I was talking to our board
Yeah.
And when our chairman announced these new businesses, how green is green? Because today what is happening is we have a new problem today. Like even Germany has a problem, USA has a problem, where over the last 25, 30 years, we've been investing in solar farms and in wind farms. And now you're trying to deal, or you're not able to deal with the waste that is created from these farms. Because a wind farm, for instance, the life cycle of a wind farm is about roughly 30 years. And
I see where you are going there. I never thought about this. Thank you.
So therefore, wind, solar, and all that we talk about is not really so green. Wind farm creates huge waste, and if you've seen windmills, one span of the mill.
Yeah. They
are so not long. It's
yes.
Where do you dump these things? Where do you dump them? And these also have toxic metals. It is made of fiberglass and other metals. And they are causing environmental damage.
Yes.
Permanent damage. In fact, you don't know how to handle this because it will cost you a lot of money to dispose of or to recycle this.
It's the same with e-cars, right? The lithium in the batteries, it's a problem.
It's a problem with the lithium batteries. Leave alone the lithium batteries.
Yes.
The mines where lithium is mined.
Yes, I've seen pictures.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So, in our race to save the climate, we're actually destroying the environment and starting a new war over natural resources, especially rare. They call it rare earth metals.
Yes.
Which are required for these solar
rare elements and rare metals.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
And the rare earths business is growing rapidly now. What oil was 40 years ago is now becoming is now taken over by rare earths, because already we have a $10 billion business volume across the world, and it is growing very rapidly. And China is now grabbing everywhere. They are going around and taking up mines, and it's a war that has already started.
Yes.
I'd like to mention, I don't want to go too much in detail, but I'd like to mention lastly about the keeping the future of human or mankind in mind, about global ethos, values, ethics, morality. I think from a human race that has not been changing much over the last 100,000 years, we are now changing every moment because of advances, as I mentioned, in technology. My father, who's 93 years old, he lives in a small village in India. And he's very intellectually, very, very active still. He reads and he writes. He's a prolific writer. He has a blog. He has a website, and he's very active. He's computer savvy.
So that's where you get your 900 pages book from, right?
He often tells me that the current lot of mankind has no parallel to what he has seen in his lifetime. He says, and I quote him, he says, "We live in very exciting but very dangerous times. And in our quest for material pleasures, we are running around clueless like headless chickens." So this is what we are seeing today. New challenges have appeared thanks to the domineering ambitions of some countries to overpower others. Massive consumerism dictates most human activity and interaction.
Yeah.
Clothes are no more meant to conceal delicate body parts. They are designed to reveal them. Food,
Right.
food is no more a health requirement and a necessity to survive. But food has to satiate or satisfy the palate. And it must be served in style.
Yes, and sometimes it has become a drug, filled with salt and sugar and etc. Yeah.
Countries with better resources today want to dominate the rest of the world. We've seen that happening over the past century.
Yeah.
I will not name countries, but
we all know whom you are talking about.
The results are engineered troubles between neighboring communities.
Yeah.
Selfishness, arrogance, anger, greed, and fear are all things that human race has collected in our minds. And unfortunately, they are so much directing our lives, our words, our actions, which is frightening. Presently, mankind is looking for happiness outside of him or her, chasing material comforts, indulging in petty pleasures, obscene display of wealth to satiate the ego, attaining political and economic power at any cost, illicit gratification by consuming drugs. In the United States, most college students are on drugs.
Yeah.
It's an open secret. And,
yes.
They have a huge problem. And parents in the US, when they send their children to school, they give them the drugs. The parents give them the drugs. And the drug and substances business today is a $15 to $20 billion industry in the world. In my school days, which is over 55 years ago, I had only one love. I mean, a girl. Love, who I married later. And I still have only two friends who I turn to every time I want to share my happiness or anxieties. So one love and two friends. Today's social media, the Facebook, they have changed the meaning of love and friends.
Yes.
The other day, one of my friends was bragging and saying, I have 2,000 friends in Facebook. I said, what do you do? How do you deal with 2,000 friends?
With our brain, which is hardwired to can only deal with the complexity of 70 people.
Yes. Yeah. So how shallow has this human society become?
Yes.
Or the human race has become?
Yes.
Where are we heading?
Yeah.
So it's time that we humans discard the illusion of discovering happiness in the material world and instead look inwards for the bliss that already exists within us. Our mind will become clean. We can live with character and eternal values. That seems to be the greatest need for the world today, in my view.
Yes.
When I say eternal values, what I mean is the values of, and you mentioned this in the beginning, the values of compassion, character, integrity. These are the values that we need and which we have lost, which we seem to have lost.
Yes.
In conclusion, I'd like to just round up the entire Indian heritage of knowledge is founded on the concept of seeking and questioning. We have no religious texts. We only have texts that are written by other people
Mm.
of their experiences. So, and you can challenge these texts.
Yes.
You can challenge the ideas in those texts, and you can question them. So, questioning, seeking was the foundation to acquire knowledge of the self and the universal spirit in India. And it still is. And this has led to the courageous revelation that each of us in, the God Almighty, the God particle, as they call it, that engineered the phenomenal universe, we are just part of that particle.
Mm.
And we are the ones who engineered this universe as that particle, God particle. And what we see is all a perception of our own mind.
Yeah.
As we call it in India, Maya. I don't know if you have read about this. But Maya is the word you must read.
Yes, illusion.
Illusion.
Yes.
So everything around us is an illusion.
It's a fundamentally constructivist perspective today. Yes.
Yeah. So the ancient Indian text therefore says Vasudeva Kutumbakam. I'm talking of tens of thousands of years ago, which
Yes.
And these texts were written by saints in those days, by rishis, as we call them, or knowledgeable people.
Mhm.
And this was passed on over generations.
Yes.
Vasudeva Kutumbakam means this whole world, this humanity is one holistic family. And we need to live like a family.
Yeah.
Instead of bickering and fighting at each other.
Yes.
So humanity needs to reset its course. We need to change our lifestyles.
Yeah.
We need to get away from this thing that green will save us. The only way we can save ourselves is changing our lifestyles, changing the way we think.
Yes.
Changing the way we do things. And if we have to sustain this planet, then this is the only solution we have. There are no shortcuts.
Yes.
I think this is broadly what I wanted to say.
This was incredible. You started as a physicist, then you switched to becoming an historian, then you switched to becoming an expert on economy and agile thinking, and then you became an Indian holy man, and and you ended as an Indian philosopher. Fantastic! Thank you so much.
Most welcome. It made me think also, and so I'm grateful to you for giving this, for choosing this topic, and also for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts with you.
Thank you. Thank you for spending your time with me and with our audience and contributing to the Larnaca-Conferences. Will you be there when the conference is happening?
Yes, I'll be there.
Fantastic. Fantastic, because we want to have children there also. With a little luck, we will have some children from India there. And I find that very important, that we come into a dialogue. Yeah, that we create, as you said, as a family. But I believe in individuality as well. So families are as strong as their members are individuals. Yeah. So it's lovely to have you here, and we are very excited to see you again in end of November.
Yeah.
And thank you for your life's energy. I really think this was one of the keynotes that helped people to comprehend, yes, there is hope. Yes, we have to change, but change can be something good. Yeah.